Hello and welcome to the Financial Independence UK podcast. Join your hosts Tom and Alex as we talk about wealth creation, financial planning and personal development specifically for the UK. Hello and welcome back. This is the Financial Independence UK podcast. I'm here with Tom and we're going to discuss today the impact of time and money. So how valuable your time is and its impact on your ability to generate wealth. Time is the most valuable resource we have. No amount of money can buy more time. So it's important to know how to use your time to the best of its potential. So we're going to discuss the link between the two, how much of a role it plays in our modern society, how we can make the best use of it. And because of that, this is going to be a short episode because we believe our time is valuable. We believe your time is valuable. So it'll give you a little bit of spare time to do something that your future self will thank you for.
Yeah, and I think the first point to pick up on is the fact that everyone who has a job trades their time for work. And you might not think about it, but it's essentially just these little time credits that you're giving your work, say 7, 8, 9 hours a day, and you're getting paid an hourly rate in return. So recently I looked at this, I worked out after tax and NI and all that sort of stuff, including my pension payment, how much I actually get paid at work. And it comes to about £12.50 an hour, which isn't a colossal sum of money when you think about it. It's just the fact that because you are so consistently at work for those 7 hours a day, 52 weeks a year, then it adds up to a sort of reasonable sum which can fund your lifestyle.
Definitely. And I think it's important to note that a lot of people sell their time for money for a particular hourly rate. And that in itself creates an income ceiling because people aren't going to want to work ridiculous hours each week. Your body and mind won't allow for that. You do need time to rest. And it also creates kind of its own limitation because you can't be paid, I don't know, say, for an example, £5,000 an hour to do a job that somebody who's prepared to do for £20 an hour. You just won't get employed. So it needs to be at a reasonable rate. So the only real way of increasing the amount you earn, if you are selling your time, is to either work more hours or increase the amount of money you work for per hour. So increase your hourly rate.
Yeah, that's right. Otherwise, it leads to this form of income ceiling. If you think about the sort of biggest CEOs of the world, who earn thousands of pounds a second, there's no way that you'd walk into a job interview and say, I want 10 grand a second for this job, because no one's going to pay you that. But what they've done is they've managed to create resources and put themselves in a position where they can pay themselves that much money, because that's how much value that they're providing, how much of a service they're providing to everyone else.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing, is they provide value to a lot of the world's people, which is why they can make so much money per second. And it's always fascinated me about people who earn that much. If they were to drop my entire month's salary on the ground, it wouldn't be worth their time to bend over and pick it up. And that kind of the amount they earn has always kind of fascinated me. And I think it really hit home when I thought about, or I read the other day and then thought about 1 million seconds. If you think about 1 million seconds, it comes out to about 12 days, whereas 1 billion seconds is over 31 years. So the difference between the two is astounding, actually. So I think the way to kind of break through that kind of barrier is to work on how much value you provide for the service or time that you put in. Instead of an hourly rate, work on a value-based pricing system. And interestingly, there's a thing I read the other day called Breaking the Time Barrier. It's a book called How to Unlock Your True Earning Potential, written by McDerment and Donald Cowper in 2013. So they suggest, instead of selling your time for a set rate, thus creating this ceiling, you can use a pricing model called how much value you provide to the person who's paying you. And that can really, really up your kind of your salary in return for the same or less amount of work.
Yeah, and if we think about people who are self-employed and they perform these tasks for people and they ask for a certain amount of money, then what you can think about is how this activity can be scaled, because there's only a limit to how much they will pay them based on how good they are at that job. For example, I know someone who is a dog groomer and they charge somewhere around about £40 to £50 per dog, which can take them between an hour and an hour and a half. Now, on a basic hourly rate, that's pretty good money, but you're only limited by your ability to groom a dog, and of which you can only do one at a time. So an example of how you can scale this business is you can take your dog grooming workshop and you can employ 4 people who will work in your shop and groom their dogs. And let's say they all have the same number of customers that you do, and you take 25% of their pay per person, then that will add up to 100% of your initial salary. Well, you don't have to groom any dogs anymore. You can just allow other people to do it for you, and you provide the service of the workshop for them.
Yeah, that's a really good way of scaling your business, and you leverage other people's time because you provide them with the kit that they need, the space to do it, the client base. So you've worked previously to build all of those things. They are leveraging that from you, and in return, you are leveraging their time to increase the amount of money you make per hour, per day. And actually, that you can then reduce the amount of hours you put in, which is how businesses across the world are scaled. That's how people get to eventually earning thousands of pounds per second. And I think that's another way, as we say, to break kind of the hourly rate kind of thing that people are fixated on. It does bring down that ceiling, so you can scale that between. If you say you have, like in this example, you have 4 people working for you. In a year's time, you might have 6 people working for you. And that's how it kind of grows over time. Of course, you need to find a lot of dogs to groom, but a lot of people spend a lot of hours at work, won't have time or the skills to groom dogs. So then you're providing them value for the service you provide, and a lot of people are happy to pay for it.
Yeah, that's right. And how this idea sort of links back to personal finance, and particularly financial independence, is that the aim of what we're trying to do by saving and investing is by creating a sort of passive form of income that will pay us and we don't have to go to work. But if you think about it, if you did own a dog grooming shop and you had 4 people and you took 25% of each of their incomes, then you've essentially reached financial independence because your income is being provided for you by other people working for it. So that is exactly what it says on the tin. That is passive income. So there are ways of achieving financial independence earlier than a typical salaried worker by being able to scale a business such as that.
Definitely. And I think that's a very good example. And it fits nicely with what's called the 80-20 rule. So you get 80% of the benefits for 20% of the effort. And that's true with many things. It's called the Pareto principle. And it's very, very useful for leveraging your time in useful ways. So if you can put in 20% of the effort and get 80% of the result, it saves you putting in 100% of the effort to get 100% of the result, because those percentages are then flipped, which gives you more time to focus on things that will be of benefit for you, that your future self will thank you for.
Absolutely. And it's sort of how education works, that you spend a good portion of your life investing in learning and building skills, in the hope that the time you put into that will hopefully pay dividends in the future by being able to give you a higher hourly rate or a higher salary.
Definitely. And I think it's always a good thing to make intentional decisions with your time. For example, will a master's program, say, for example, or a PhD, a doctorate, will it provide the value on the other end of it that you've put in to get there? Will it result in a higher paying job? Will it open doors for you that were previously inaccessible? So think before you make kind of the decision like that, will the time you invest, will it pay off in the future? Or are you just doing it because you don't know what to do in a particular time frame? So will you get the value from it in the long run for it to be worth your time now? Because you could be spending that time like investing in yourself, in experience in the workplace. You could be traveling, you could be reading, you could be doing many other things. But it might be that's the best thing for you. But think about it logically. Take time to make the decision. Don't rush it, and really work out whether it's the best use of your time to get enough value out of the other end.
There's actually a film which sort of covers this topic quite well, I think. It's called In Time, starring Justin Timberlake as the main character. But it's a society where currency has been completely replaced by time, and your lifespan is displayed on your wrist. And how rich you are is how much time you have to live. So everyone's like stuck in a 25-year-old body, a 25-year-old version of themselves, and they won't die unless they run out of time. So when you go to work, they'll give you like, I don't know, a set number of hours based on what kind of work you do for them. In the same way in the real world that, like, say, about 20% of the world's population have 80% of the wealth. And it's the same sort of thing in there, that there's a lot of poor people who are living day to day, or what we would call, say, paycheck to paycheck, because they just have to work to give them enough time to work again. But there are some people who have, hundreds or thousands of hours or days or whatever of time left on their wrist, and they can sort of do whatever they want. But it's a really sort of fun play. It's not actually a great film, but it's a fun play on the topic, on the idea.
Oh, I'd never heard of the film until now. If you had to rate it out of 10, what rating would you give it? And do you think it's a useful, a useful way of spending an hour and a half of your time?
Honestly, as a film, I'd give it like a 6 to a 6.5. It's not the best film in the world, but the concept behind it is really interesting. So
okay, so a mediocre score. What would you say if the film, instead of being like an hour and a half or something, if it was all fit into 15 minutes?
Oh yeah, definitely worth a watch. I think if you can watch some sort of summary video on YouTube, then that would be perfect.
Okay. Interesting that you mentioned that and summaries, because actually in our resources chest for this week, it's a new thing that we've brought in. We've spent quite a lot of our time learning about these kind of key topics. So we're more than happy to share those with you so you can leverage our time. So our resources chest is something that we bring out each episode, something that we think you will find value in. And it fits nicely with the 80% of the benefits for 20% of the effort, especially for learning about finances. And that is a YouTube channel called The Swedish Investor. He's a chap called Eric, who he summarizes financial books, which can be kind of heavy going, and financial concepts into short 10 to 12 minute kind of episodes on YouTube. They're animated. They explain his top 5 key takeaways from the book. So you don't have to spend 5 or 6 hours reading the book. You can get a short summary in 10 minutes. And I think that's a really good way of using your time and getting the most value from it.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's something I use pretty regularly because I do like reading books, but it's not really something I have time to do, funnily enough. But yeah, it's a great way of just getting a short 15-minute summary and just saying to me, like, is this book worth reading? Am I going to get something out of it? And if it's a book that you're never going to read, then it's good to just get the sort of brief summary. You can at least have a conversation with someone about the book.
Yeah, definitely. And I've used it regularly as a resource. A lot of the books on our reading list have been covered by the Swedish Investor. So if you can't afford to buy the book, you don't want to buy the book, or you simply don't have time to read, you can always watch these videos, take some notes, and they're always up there. They're always accessible, so you can go back through them. So that, as a time thing, is very useful. We're going to wrap up this episode, so we're going to make it kind of 15 minutes total, so you can use the additional time to do something that your future self will thank you for. So please do take some action, use it wisely, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Financial Independence UK podcast. We hope you found it useful. If you have any questions or ideas for us, feel free to email at fi.ukpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time.